everybody, and welcome back to this week's video. It is the first week of a new month, which you know what that means. It is wrap up time, and I actually haven't even looked at my stats for this month, so let's get my little journal open and have a looky. So in January I read 14 books. I actually don't know how many I still currently have because I did a huge unhaul in January. Both off of my physical TBR and books that I'd already read and not loved. I read a couple of ARCs, which obviously I don't physically own yet. This will be discussed. And I will be giving you my star rating, and I'm going to try and remember to say whether I kept unhauled or have bought that book. And my new thing, actually, I'm keeping track of how many books I have on my TBR throughout each month. So at the start of the year, January 1st, I had 133 books, I believe, on my physical TBR. And on February 1st, I had 111, which, bear in mind, that is through reading and unhauling various books. So I'm going to start with the books I don't physically have on me because I just feel like it's good to get those out of the way and I won't forget them. The first book I read this month was an ARC, which is why I don't own it, but I do intend to buy a physical copy of it because I loved it. It was Drive Me Crazy by Lizzie Dent. This is a Formula One romance, childhood friends to lovers. You know I eat that up every single time. I gave that a 4.5. And I will be buying a physical copy of it. Absolutely, yes. Then what else have I got that I don't physically have? Okay, from a real high to a real low, I read Wrath of the Dragon by Olivia Rose Darling. It is a sequel to Fear the Flames, which is one of my 5-star reads. And I fear I did DNF it at 60%. I did DNF it, and I did in fact unhaul both Fear the Flames and Wrath of the Dragon because of this fact. It just wasn't for me. I feel like it should have been 2 books. Like, focus on what the first 60% of this book was about in one book, move on to the next bit in another book. I feel like that would have worked. Yes, book 2 in that case would have been a filler book then, but it's a filler book that I would have finished. So it was just too long with too many things going on that I just wasn't interested in following all at the same time. So there's that. Then I had In a Rush by Kate Canterbury. This was a part of the interconnected standalone series Friendship Rhode Island, and I did in fact give this a 2-star. It again was just far too long. No romance book needs to be 500 pages long, with the exception of If It Makes You Happy. That book did indeed need to be 500 pages long, and I would have read a whole nother 500 pages of that. I truly would have. But I gave this a 2-star. I felt like the fake dating was fine. I didn't really have an opinion on it. It didn't wow me, but it didn't annoy me too much. The characters, however, I was not a fan of. I can't remember why at this point, but I just wasn't into them. And as I said, it was just too long. I'd lost interest by the end. I didn't care. Like, by 400 pages, I'm thinking, yeah, okay, I know they're going to get together. I really don't care at this point how or when they have a third act breakup, because with that many pages, you know it's happening. So there's that. And I think, oh no, there is one more book I don't physically have, and it is another book that I do intend to buy. It is A Sure Thing by Portia McIntosh. If you watch my channel, you know I love Portia McIntosh. Her books always hit, always. I gave A Sure Thing 5 stars. It was not my first 5-star of the month. You will actually see throughout this video I had a real good reading month, real good. But this was an ARC I received, and I was absolutely floored when I got this because, as I said, I love Portia McIntosh. I love being able to read her books early. Absolutely love it. This followed Cleo, who works as a casting director for a very Love Island type show. It's a show where the people apply, they go and live on this island, do the whole Love Island thing of just living in bikinis. But it's also like Survivor. They have to do a lot of survival tasks and team up and pair up, and that on its own already very fun. Add in Lockie, who was our love interest, who also got hired as a casting director for this show, and everything he's doing is just opposing what Cleo wants to do. But they do have to learn to work together, because when a storm prevents the cast of this dating show from showing up to the island, Cleo and Lockie get sent in the island. Yep, absolutely, yep, 5 stars. I do want to reread it already, and I only finished it at the end of January. That was the last book I read in January. It was great. Moving on to the books I do physically own, I'm going to keep this to hand because there's some that I'm a bit iffy on what rating I gave them. So the next book we're going to talk about was another one I had as an ARC, and I enjoyed it enough to buy a physical copy, and that is Playing for Keeps by Alexandria Bellefleur. I actually have owned a book by this author for a while now. I have The Devil She Knows, and I was just scared to pick it up. And then I got the ARC for this. I was like, well, I have to read that one by a certain date, so I'll read that one. And I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4-star. This is a sapphic romance between 2 publicists, are they? PR? Is that right? I think that's right. Publicists. We've got one lady who is the publicist for a American football player, and one is the PR agent for the publicist for a singer. Yes, it is very much giving Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, because those 2 people do indeed end up together, and because of that, obviously their publicists are spending a lot more time together to deal with the drama of them having a relationship, and they sleep together. It was just so much fun. It was a good time. I gave this a 4-star, and I stand by that. This was great. Then we did a 10-book takedown of Finishing series. It did go pretty wrong, which is why I'm really glad to have my voice back and be able to talk about these books in my wrap-up, because I have things to say. The first series that I tackled was the Love Light Farm series by B.K. Borison. I'd read book 1, and I had 3 books to go, and I did read all of these. This is where I need my journal to tell me what I rated these, because they're a little bit like jumbled up in my head because I've read them back to back. So we have got In the Weeds. Oh, In the Weeds. This was Beckett and Evelyn, and this was already pretty good. Like, I'd given it a 4-star already, and then I read the rest of the series and I bumped it up to a 4.5 because I'm obsessed with Beckett. You do not understand. He's up there. Possibly my favorite book boyfriend out of all of B.K. Borison's book boyfriends. This was great. They have a one-night stand to start with, and then Evelyn, who is a social media influencer, ends up going to this small town, and he works at the farm that she's there to influence people to go to. It's just it's so much fun already, and then Beckett just got better and better and better with every single book. So that was a 4.5. Then we had Mixed Signals, which this one follows, I do have to remind myself of names. This follows Layla and Caleb. Right, yes, Layla and Caleb, I've got it. This is a kind of fake dating but teaching to date sort of scenario. They both think they're really bad at dating, so they date each other to give each other pointers on how to be better at dating. I did indeed eat this up. This also got a 4-star. I loved this as well. What more can I say? B.K. Borison nails it every single time. And then the next one is Business Casual. This one follows Charlie and Nova. I believe Nova is a tattoo artist, and Charlie, I can't really remember what Charlie does, some businessy type thing. And they have like a one-night stand, no strings attached thing to try and get it out of their systems. And as you know, with these books, it is never out of their system. Never. So they continue seeing each other. I did like this, but compared to the other books, this was just not hitting as hard. I really didn't like Nova as a character, so I've given it a 3.5. I could probably bump it up a little bit, but it'd still be below a 4-star for me. But I think I said this in the video actually, this is my favourite cover of the series. I just think it's really sweet. So that one was a 3.5. Then I'd argue this was my biggest disappointment of the month, because I'm a big fan of Chelsea Curto. I love her DC Stars series. I am partial to an age gap romance. So you'd think a Chelsea Curto DC Stars age gap romance would be my cup of tea. It was in fact not my cup of tea. I gave this one a 3.5 at the time. I'm actually going to lower it to just a flat 3 because the more I think about it, the more I dislike it. This follows Brody. Yes. This follows Brody, who is the coach of the DC Stars hockey team, and Hannah, who is the sister of one of the members of that hockey team. And they have, I think it's like a 14 or 15 year age gap. It's single dad, figure skater, hockey coach. That's the setup here. But my issue comes from the fact that throughout the book, we are constantly reminded of the age gap and how weird the age gap is. Oh my god, he's so old. Gally, if you're mentioning it that much, you are not okay with the age gap. If it's that much of a problem, don't do it. It's not that hard. But it was said so much that it made me kind of uncomfortable. I didn't want to pick it up, which is scary because this is one of my favourite series. And I know the next book is an age gap as well. And I just... oh my god. And on top of that, the way they handled telling people they were dating, horrendous, absolutely awful. So this was a 3-star. As you can see, I'm quite passionate about all the things I didn't like about this. I will say I did like Brody as a character. I thought he was sweet. There's my positive. Moving on. Now, I'm actually going to skip so we can have a real run of perfection. I did read for that video as well Revelry by Lila Dawes. I adore Lila Dawes, not only because she writes brilliant books, has the most gorgeous cover art, but she also follows my Instagram. Yup, she follows my Instagram. And I just thought that's so sweet. I posted about her book once and she followed me back and commented. I was like, oh, okay. This follows Tate and Gertie. They were kind of childhood friends, not really though. They were next door neighbours growing up, and Gertie moved away, and when she came back, she ended up living in that same house she grew up in, and Tate still lived next door. And Tate thinks he's quite boring. So Gertie agrees to help him, not learn how to be fun, but help him have more fun. And it was just so sweet. I loved every second of this. I think, what did I give it? I gave it a 4.5. 4.5. I can't even remember why it's not a 5-star. I think I just felt guilty about how many 5 stars I'd given out this month. But, I mean, 4.5, maybe a 5-star. I might come back to this in the future and think it's a 5-star. So, I adored this. I'm absolutely going to keep reading the books that come out in this series. The name of the series is the only thing that gives me a little bit of the ick. It's called Cowgirls Do It Better. Like, could we not have come up with a better series name? I'll take it. But I feel like it could have been done better. But I did love this book, and I obviously love the artwork. Big fan. This is where I kind of got into my groove, because we've already had one 5-star read pop up in this video. But not only did I have one, not only did I have 2, not only did I have 3, I had 4 5-star reads this month. That is unheard of. And I'm so happy about it. For a brief period there, I thought I was in a reading slump. And now I'm just like, I needed that slump to get me here. We're going to start with the best 5-star of all 5 stars that I could possibly give. Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Holy shit, no one was kidding when they said this is a 6-star read. It truly is. Like, this is a book I could see myself getting tattooed for. It really is. This was just absolutely everything to me. I listened to the audiobook. The narrator was great. The cadence in his voice, great. The writing style, amazing. So funny, yet so heartbreaking at moments. I cried in IKEA. I was listening to the audiobook of this, walking through IKEA, and I stopped and I went, and I had a cry. I did. And I'm not ashamed. That's very on character for me, in character. So this follows Ryland, who is a teacher that gets kind of drafted into helping with this space mission. And I just absolutely loved him. He was such a fun character to follow. I don't read books written by men often because I don't find them relatable and I usually don't find them fun. This was fun. This was so much fun. I loved it so much. I literally don't even want to tell you too much about it because I low-key went in blind. I knew he was a teacher and I knew it was in space. There's the information I had. So that's the information I'm going to leave you with. But this is a 6-star read. This was my first 5-star read of the year, and it's definitely a 6-star. I wouldn't be surprised if this was my best book of the year. That's how strongly I feel about this book. 5 stars. Highly recommend. And yes, I did get the movie cover because I like Ryan Gosling, okay? This is a cover I want on my shelves. Then, continuing the theme of finishing series, I actually have 3 more books in a series to round this video out with, and that is Good Girl Bad Blood, As Good as Dead, and Killjoy by Holly Jackson. This is obviously finishing out the Good Girls Guide to Murder series. Initially, I didn't even have this one. I went out and bought it because I felt the need to go back to this world immediately. So, again, I'm not going to say too much because these are like actual connected series. Like, this follows the same set of characters every single time. So I'm not going to tell you what actually happens in these books. But the premise of The Good Girls Guide to Murder as a series is Pip Fitzamobi wants to do, she wants to investigate a closed case in her hometown. I think it's called Little Kilton. For a case that happened 5 years ago, I think it is in the first book, 5 years ago, following 2 students from her school that both died, got murdered, went missing, I think is what she believes thoroughly. And she wants to do it for her EPQ, which I don't know too much about an EPQ because I didn't do one. I believe it's just like a huge essay type thing that gets you more points for UCAS when you apply to unis. I think that's what that is. But that's kind of the premise. It was incredibly fun. The first book was a 5-star as well, and so I was not surprised when book 2 and 3 were also 5 stars. And this was a very strong 4-star for a novella. I don't rate novellas particularly highly, but I thoroughly enjoyed this one, and I'm entirely biased because this, the main trilogy, is possibly the only series ever that I've given every single book 5-star in. Like, even Harry Potter, Half-Blood Prince is a 4-star read. I stand by what I said. This series, however, 5 stars across the board. Incredible work. So, with that being said, that was the 14 books I read in January. 4 of them were 5-star reads, which is incredible. I had 1 DNF. I've unhauled 2 books. I've unhauled 2 books from the ones that I read, and I purchased 1 of these books. More updates to come on my purchasing of books. I have a new series I'm starting which involves all of the books that I buy this year, and it's scary, but I'm gonna do it because I need to hold myself accountable, so look forward to that in the future. I hope you have enjoyed watching, and I will see you next week with another video.